we'll help you re-enter, and
Yes.
I'll put resources into reentry so that we can help you navigate, so that you can have a smoother transition, so that we don't have to repeat this a year from now, because people who return home from prison usually recidivate within a
Mm-hmm.
year, and 80% of them do. And so we've got to break this cycle,
Yes.
because we also know that somebody who has a family member that's been to jail more than likely will also go to jail. And so it's not, so we're talking about the future as well as
Yeah.
the past, and we've got to break these cycles.
That's super important to actually highlight on that and reentry and the topic that Rikers they're saying is supposed to be closed in the next 10 years
That'd
and
take 10 years to close Rikers. I don't even know why somebody, if the mayor and the powers that be wanted to close Rikers, it certainly wouldn't take 10 years to close Rikers. You have to look at who's on Rikers. In Rikers, 40% of the people who are in Rikers are on Rikers have not been convicted of anything. So that means they're in Rikers because they couldn't afford their bail. And or they don't return to court. But that's a very small number of people. Most of the people there are there for what we would consider sort of nonviolent crimes. And we can separate them out. I mean, that's not, the Bronx can take theirs, Brooklyn, we can take ours back, and we can figure out other ways how to monitor people. So you could close Rikers.
so it would not take
So that's
10
just
years.
sort of kicking the can down the road, because you don't want to deal with the idea of corrections officers, where they're going to go. But I figure there are other places they could be absorbed, so they wouldn't lose their jobs necessarily. But I think there's some communities that feel that they would not be safe if Rikers were closed. But Rikers is such a it's a poor statement of who we are as New Yorkers. When I was the New York City Human Rights Commissioner, what I realized was that everybody looked to for the commission to be sort of the representative of what we think we are as New Yorkers. We don't discriminate. We're good people. And that's how they saw the commission. That was our role. As Rikers is the opposite of that.
Mm-hmm.
Rikers shows the worst part of who we are as New Yorkers. We're housing people that are in violent conditions, and corrections officers are being beat up, and prisoners are being beat up, and there's all this assault and violence. What kind of place are we running here?
Exactly.
And so we need to rethink this. And like someone said today, we need to sort of crush it and start all over again here. And that's why I think that to keep Rikers, we'll never be able to change it. We had these same conversations 30 years ago.
Right.
And they clean it up and they paint it up, and and everybody gets retrained, and we come up with new plans, and it's not working. It doesn't work, and it's not doing what it's supposed to do. And we don't need to do it. There are much better ways to handle those kinds of crime issues and people.
Absolutely. Well, hold that thought. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. You're watching Beyond Focus TV. Stay with us. You're watching Beyond Focus TV. I'm Lydia Patel. So, of course, just weeks away. It's super exciting. I hope everyone is registered. And just kind of reiterate to everyone at home that doesn't even go by district, whatever. You can actually just look on your ballot.
That's right. I am on the ballot for district attorney. I'm Democrat. So our Democratic primary is September 12th in 3 weeks. And so if you're a Democrat, then you can vote. And you look down on the ballot, and my name is Gatling, and I think my position on the ballot is 4th. So if you don't remember the name, just remember 4. That's all you have to, number 4. Just vote number 4. And then after that, there's the elections in November, but
Mhm.
if you win the Democratic primary here in Brooklyn, because Brooklyn has over 1 million registered Democrats, then more than likely you'll win the November election.
Yeah.
What's really kind of sad about all of this, though, is, while we have 1 million registered Democrats here in New York, probably less than 200,000 will vote
Wow.
in the primary, maybe even less than that. And there's low voter turnout. And people died so that we could have the right to vote as
Mhm.
African Americans. And so we need to vote. It's important to vote. It's interesting, immigrant communities understand that because they come from places where everyone didn't have the right to vote, or
Mhm.
voting became dangerous or something. And so they come and they vote when they become citizens. And we need to vote, and especially in this election, because like I was saying to you earlier, district attorney is more than just about criminal prosecution. It's a large office. We have a 1,200 person office, a $94 million budget, and depending on where I put those resources, there are great things that we could do here in Brooklyn, not that are under the umbrella of public safety.
Mhm.
And that's educational programs, that's reentry programs, that's programs to help people who are wrongfully convicted. We should be assisting them, not only clearing them of the wrongful conviction, but helping them as well transition, because they can file a lawsuit, but they still have to wait. Lawsuits take time. So what resources are we committing to help them reenter, just like we would somebody who was reentering, returning home from prison? And so, they need resources, because we know that they're going to eventually win the lawsuit or settle. But what happens in the interim?
In between.
In the interim, you're wrongfully convicted, and we say, okay, fine, you can get out. You're leaving prison. Well, who's there to pick you up? What happens? You're not, and you weren't there. You weren't supposed to be there to begin with. So, and what services are provided for you? And so we have to do that as well. And then we've got to, start also focusing in on all the gun violence. I mean, we lost those 2 young women not too long ago,
Mhm.
and they were playing cards behind their apartment where they live. But a lot of NYCHA housing, and I tell this to people, NYCHA is not maintaining these buildings. The lighting is not there. They're creating unsafe conditions by not maintaining these buildings.
Correct.
And that's problematic. And especially where these young women were behind when they were playing the cards, and they were meeting with people. It was dark back there. So you've got a shooter who's not trying to shoot them, shooting at someone else, but they die as a result, of gunfire. And so we've got to address these pockets of gun violence and the gangs that are sort of springing up between. When I was in the 90s, it was sort of the Latin Kings and some Jamaican drug gangs, and even we had the former Russian gangs and these kinds of organized gangs. But now what we're seeing is young people in housing developments who, if you live on the east side of the housing development, you're fighting the ones on the west side of it. So they're in the same units, and they're fighting each other, and they're using guns. So it's not just about guns that are coming from, the South, and they always
Mhm.
talk. We have guns already here in Brooklyn, and how is that happening? And I've got some ideas about how it's happening, but we need to address that gun violence issue and the pockets of crime places. We've had push-in burglaries. We're having more sort of violent burglaries in different parts of the community, and so there are just places, and we've got to have an overall strategy and plan to deal with where crime is sort of bubbling up a bit. But guns have to be a priority of my administration.
Absolutely. And before we run out of time, I want to make sure everyone knows how to get in contact with you and check out. You have a wonderful site with great information. So why don't you share that?
You can find me on Facebook, but also Gatling for DA is our website. And
spell that out.
GATLINGFORDA.
Okay.
Yeah, and I tell everyone it's Gatling gun. There was a Gatling gun, so it's not the Gatling brothers. They're the N, I'm the G. And they can contact me, on Facebook and on the website if they want to volunteer. We're always looking for volunteers and for people to, work in the community. And you know what else I've been getting a lot that I really appreciate? A lot of people are emailing me and talking about different ideas and what's going on in the community. And I think that's so important. So keep it coming.
Good.
I appreciate it. I like to read it.
That's great, and we're really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be great to see some changes. I mean, like Ken Thompson did in the short time that he was there.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Ken was a friend. But you know what? We're going to do his legacy right. And that's what I tell everyone. It's, everyone says, oh, I'm close to Ken and, I can do it. No, I'm going to be Patricia and do what Patricia does. But I know, like Ken was a moral breath of fresh air.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to bring integrity back to the district attorney's office. And that's the most important thing we have to do.
I love it. Well, Ms. Pat Gatling, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm excited for the 12th. Looking forward to.
I am too.
Some great things are going to come out of Brooklyn.
We're going to knock it out the park.
We are. We definitely
knock
are.
it out the park.
And as always, if you have any questions or comments, you can send us an email at info@beyondfocusmedia.com. I'm your host, Lydia Patel. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be back again next week. Same time, same place. You're watching Beyond Focus TV. Stay with us. Beyond Focus TV show wants and needs your feedback. Did we blunder? Please let us know so we can improve. Was the show helpful to you? Drop us a note so we can share the success with our staff members. Is there something you think we could do better? We welcome new ideas and new approaches to old ideas. Do you have a great suggestion? Let us know and we'll work on it. If you would like to share your comments anonymously, please send us an email at info@beyondfocusmedia.com. If you want to get in touch with the executive producer directly, send him an email at gene@beyondfocusmedia.com. We really look forward to hearing from you.